Hello, hi, hey, it's me, Jeff. I gotta, I gotta be better at starting podcasts. What is this? What am I 20th year doing this? All right, hey, welcome to another glorious episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. I am your titular host, Jeff, and with me is your titular cool friend, one of my favorite people on the planet, and somebody that I have not actually had on this specific version of the show, even though she was with me before. She is a runway model and also a lepidopterist and also an adrenaline freak and also just one of the best people I know. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, welcome the amazing Dr. Susan Finkbeiner.
Yay.
Hey, hey,
Where's, like, the cheering?
we'll pump that in later. Will
Please.
we? I don't know. We don't really do sound effects on this show. When last we spoke on a podcast, it was like 5 years ago.
It was right before the pandemic. I
Really?
I was thinking about this yesterday. It was December 2019.
Yeah. So it was a little over 5 years ago. And a lot has happened since then. And also, I don't think everybody that listened to the old show has listened to this show and vice versa. So, like, I think, a lot of stuff missing here. I think you're one of the most interesting people I know.
I'll take that as a compliment.
It is. Well, I mean, like, and I think we talked about this before, but like, you've had a lot of interest in your story because your story is very interesting. You are a very well-known bug scientist, right?
Yeah,
You've been
entomologist.
published PBS and like all these different like scientific journals and stuff, like very, very well known. National Geographic, I believe,
Yeah.
as well. And also, you're just sometimes professionally hot.
Well, don't, tell my colleagues that.
So that's actually one of the biggest questions that I have, and I'm not sure if I ever brought that up in the last one, but do you ever get like sort of professional jealousy or pushback because of your specific?
The only thing I could think of would be as a grad student. No, grad student and postdoc. So postdoc is kind of like usually the first research position you have after you finish your PhD. I remember guys I was dating that were also scientists at the time would be like, "Slow down, you're doing like you're publishing too much, you're doing all these things." I'm like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. Sorry.
Really?
Colleague-wise, no problems with that. I mean, we're all by the time you're faculty at a university, everyone is incredibly accomplished and we all respect each other very much.
Right. Because I always wonder about that, like especially in the world of academia, that you don't necessarily consider to be like a visually thrilling world from the people that you're looking at. Like,
Oh, you're thinking of it in that context. Oh, I was
yeah,
thinking
no, I'm literally saying, is there professional jealousy based on the fact that you are also a model? Like, do you find that because I don't think you'd have that problem in the model world where I don't think they would be like jealous that
I
you're a doctor.
I think you underestimate how good-looking scientists are.
So, I
Like,
mean,
a lot of
fair.
us we're good-looking people. I will let you know I'm not the only entomologist from Cornell University that has gone on to be a model, so,
That's amazing. That is what's going on in Cornell.
I don't know, the entomology program, we were known as being, like, the cool people, and most of us were good-looking. I mean, I shouldn't say most of us, that's really mean.
I get
We're
what you're I get
yeah.
that that's also a hard thing to address. Like it's probably really hard to just like, I mean, obviously you have to have the confidence in your looks if you're going to be a model. Like you can't subjectively be too humble about it if you get paid for your face.
Well,
Like,
you get paid for your confidence, so actually it doesn't matter. So, I mean, as
it
long as
matters a little
you
bit. Come on.
can walk in 6-inch heels and look good in designer's clothes, then I don't know.
I
People
think that's a
say that
little
make a funny face.
I think that's a little disingenuous. I think that's humility coming in, where I was saying like you can't really be too humble about it, and then you tried, and I'm like, I don't buy that because you're like, no, you just have to be confident. It's like, no, you have to be confident and hot. You can't just be confident and become a model. Like that's not how that industry works. But you have to have that right mix, and you happen to have it, which is good. But But
mean,
I
that
thought it was funny because I was like, yeah, you can't be humble. And then you tried, and I'm like, no, no, see,
well, I funny story. I grew up, I don't know if my family's gonna listen to this. Wow, my Midwest accent is totally coming. We're just having a conversation. Growing up, my sisters made fun of me for being the ugly sister. And I don't know if I pulled an ugly duckling or what. I was a super nerd, like really nerdy. Well, I'm still wearing glasses, but I was made fun of for being, the dork, right?
yeah,
And then now that was like kind of ingrained in my head, like, oh, maybe, you're not the cool one or whatever. But anyways,
you're
I
preaching to
am
the choir
honored
on this
to be
one.
on this
Like,
show. I was just like, oh man, I can finally be one of Jeff's cool friends.
you've
Yes.
been one of my cool friends, like this whole time.
And you're one of my cool friends, but I just don't have
Oh,
a whole podcast to say so.
I mean, it is what it is. So we met, and it's funny because I brought this up obviously on the last show. That was 5 years ago. We've had a lot more listeners, a lot different growth, a lot of shift. But I love how we met because our friendship is rooted in a couple things. One, we I was working and you were a contestant on what might be one of the worst ideas for a game show ever, which was it was called Oh Sit. It lasted 2 seasons and it was a extreme musical chairs hosted by Jamie Kennedy,
Oh my gosh,
which
and was
that's a
that
very
Jesse
but
Cruikshank, right? Was
Jesse
that her
Cruikshank, yeah. With also like they would have random musicians on.
name?
And I
Yeah.
tried looking it up because I remember there was like a musician that was on one of the episodes I was working that did not belong on it was like Goldfrapp or something like that. And I was just like, you are way too good to be on this terrible CW. It was weird. It was like a weird. Yeah, anyway, so I was a contestant wrangler and you were a contestant, and I think we just got along.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I was let's see, I was an alternate the first time I went, and I think as an alternate, I had to hang out in, like, the alternate room all day with you, and then there was this other guy, Josh, and then, the other guy was it Anthony Fontana? Am I
yeah, yes, that's
yeah.
right. Tony
Is he
Fontana.
listening to this? Hey,
Wow,
shout
good job. Good remembering.
you know what? I remember scientific names usually a lot more than people names, but
Wow.
is what it is.
It's Anthonus Fontanasis. So that's the phylum that he is a part of. So yeah, no, I definitely remember that because I was learning about you while we were doing it, and I was like, damn, like you are neat.
I had my butterfly net with me. That was the day where I did make it on the show the second time around. So the first time I was an alternate, second time I made it as a contestant. I brought my butterfly net with me for our little like filming tidbit.
Like
Ooh,
prop
that'd
stuff,
be so
yeah.
cool if you could add this, add a clip to it. I'll send it to you, but I don't know. Is your podcast, is it all audio or do you ever do visual stuff?
It's almost entirely audio, and the reason I do audio, I feel like I probably do better if I had one of those very Instagrammable two people on a couch or on a like seats across from each other getting video on them. I understand that. I just feel like people tend to want to perform more when they know the camera's on them instead of just wanting to talk and hang out. And that's sort of the energy that I want to bring to the show
Mhm.
is more of like a relaxed, we're two people having a conversation as opposed to like we're two people on a show
With cameras on them.
with
Yeah.
cameras on them. Yeah. Plus, I'm dressed like a dirtbag.
Great
So,
idea
like, I don't want
right
people
now.
to see me like this.
Well, I have a cat staring at me right now, as you notice in my video.
You do. You actually, I would say the thing you text me the most is photos of your cat, and it's really good stuff.
yeah,
Really,
yeah.
I really do enjoy that. I had you on 5 years ago and in 2019, and it was very interesting because there was some weird fallout from that because I think one of my old students just like was a creep to you, right?
Oh my god. Yeah, that was several years later, and it was really weird. I
I
actually
don't
don't
think
remember
it was much many
this,
years
like,
later, was it?
a follower of you started following me, and I was like, "How do you know this person?"
And I was like, that's one of my old students. And then he got
Listen to your podcast.
he said something really rude to you out of it's what seemingly out of nowhere. And I sent him a message being like, what the f-? do you think you're doing? Like, I was really like, who do you think you are? You have no right to just show this up. And he was like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. And then I don't know if I told you this part. He started like an anti-me campaign
What?
for
I
calling
did
him
not
out
know
for
about
being a
that.
creep,
Holy
and
cow.
started to like ask around to people he graduated with and people around to know to like get like dirt on me
What?
to be like, "Is Mr. May a creep? Has he ever seen?" Like really trying to like,
Oh.
and it was all just he was so mad that I told him to not treat women that way, that he tried to ruin my life. And he got
That
nothing, obviously.
I am so sorry. You're like the most like respectful person and polite person that I know.
I
I
wouldn't call me polite, but
Oh,
there
you're
are
polite.
boundaries I won't cross. There are boundaries that I don't feel comfortable crossing because much like you, I grew up very different, very ugly ducklinged, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And I actively operate on the fact that nobody would be interested. So therefore, I'll make it weird if I try. So that's one of those like, so I guess that would be the respect aspect of it is it's more of terror, but it's also respect. But yeah, he really tried to me up. Everyone's like, yeah, this guy's really trying to he sent me a message asking about you being a creep. And I'm like, you can tell him whatever you want. Like, men are not okay. So you have had a very interesting life, right? And one of the things that I want to talk about too is that you do a lot of things, right? You surf, you ski, you hike, obviously, and also you climb, right? Like hiking and
Uh,
I consider
well, the climbing aspect, I'm not like a rock climber. I
oh,
always joke, I say my hands are too delicate for that. Um,
kind of too big.
well, you're also a boxer, so you probably have like opposite of delicate hands. But some of the hiking I do, I mean, so like if you say like mountain climbing, this you're saying like I'm gonna climb
I
a
guess,
mountain.
yeah, like scaling a
Yeah, there's
cliff
some
face
like
versus
scrambling involved,
yeah.
not really like bouldering, but yeah, to the I mean, the most to the extent of any, ascending or summiting or what have you has just been like bouldering at most. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not bouldering, scrambling.
Scrambling, yeah. Because
Yeah.
bouldering is like what Tom Cruise does in a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I used to be a member of a climbing gym, and I realized because my feet and hands were so big that it was really hard for me to get good. And
Yeah,
so like, but I will tell you this, like I was using a lot of my upper body climbing.
I
And
think
it's not
you use
supposed to
more
be that
lower
way, yeah,
yeah.
but I had to. So, like, there would be a lot of stuff where and I wish I still had that grip strength now because 'cause it's been, 15 years or something, but where I would literally just use my bottom foot to stabilize and just do, like, pull-ups up to the next thing, and I think about that, and I was like, that was freakish strength." But you have a plan to hike Everest?
If I can afford it. So,
Yeah.
I I did base camp trek in May into June. So, it was
Yes,
the
that's
very,
right, you
very
did
end.
already do that, right?
Yeah, it's the very end of the climbing season. So, the last day that you can actually summit is May 30th, I wanna say, yeah, and this is nuts. On that last day, it's like a holiday in the Himalaya or in, like, the Everest region, and there's a marathon for it's like the Everest Marathon. It starts at base camp and ends in the super cool town called Namche Bazaar. So it's the full length marathon, and it starts at
How is that not the most famous marathon in
it's
the world?
like 17,500 feet is where
Yeah,
it's
like
and you have to camp at base camp overnight before you start, and then it's all descending, well, mostly descending, I think. Yeah, how is that not the most famous marathon? That's an excellent
I
question.
guess if it's descending,
Well, so
maybe
I know
that's like
people
the
can't see me descending, I'm using quotation marks because it's very deceiving. It's still up and down, up and down.
yeah.
You're just ending in a lower elevation than where you started. And that's something that I was also fascinated by with the trek, which and was one of the coolest adventures of my life. So I did a solo trip out to Nepal to do the base camp trek, and I did have a guide, like a personal guide with me, but he let me do a lot on my own. And you're supposed to fly into this airport, Lukla, from Kathmandu, and the weather was too bad, so I had to take a helicopter in. That was awesome. It was like, I don't know. It felt like Jurassic Park moment. I'd only been on a helicopter once before where I paid for this, like, 10-minute helicopter tour around Cape Town.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But then you basically start the hike from I operate in meters, so it's, like, just under 2,000 meters where you start the hike from, and
Yeah.
then it takes you, like, 10 days to get up to base camp, but it's up and down and up and down, so coming back is up and down and up and down. But the day that I got to Namche, also known as Namche Bazaar, that was the day the marathon was. So by like 4 p.m., you're getting all these runners coming in, and they have been running all day from basically the Khumbu Glacier at base camp all the way down there. And I was just like, so impressed with what these people are doing.
Yeah.
I've done triathlons, but I've never done a marathon, and I don't think I
Like a
ever
sprint triathlon or
the Olympic length. So it was like 800-meter swim. The bike was like maybe 20K.
20 something, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
and
the
then
run is
10K.
okay. All right. So it's the one right above a sprint, right? Because a sprint's a 5K run.
Wait, or did I have it wrong? Either way, it takes about the same amount of
Yeah.
time as a marathon to complete everything. And it's funny because swimming was always my strength, but that's like the least time rewarding.
Yeah,
Um,
being great at swimming is not the thing
yeah,
that's gonna
it's
get
like
you
I
the
won
win.
my heat by like 8 seconds, yay! But then everyone I pass swimming beats me on the bike because that was my worst, and then
Oh,
the
yeah.
biking you go the fastest. So
My ex-wife signed up for a triathlon in 2007 after I had booked of my first trip to LA and Comic-Con. She booked it for like the weekend or whatever, like the Sunday of Comic-Con, and she was like, "So fly back." And it was like her first one. I was like, "No." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like I've done all of this work to get out here. And she's like, "I can't believe you would miss my first one." I'm like, "I didn't schedule this one."
yeah. Also,
Yeah, it
I
was really
mean, it's I never demanded someone come watch me at a race,
yeah. Yeah, I was
but
like, "I'm not gonna be able to see you for very long. I don't know if you know how these things work, but you're just gonna go past me once."
you should have had someone go with a cardboard cutout and then, like or dress up as you with sunglasses, and so, like, to act like you're surprising her or something. I don't know, I'm just coming up with
Yeah,
weird
and then
ideas.
they have a really romantic evening, and it would have sped up my divorce a lot faster. So you're not wrong about that. That would have been awesome.
Because, well, I've
Um,
never been married. Oh, can I tell you a funny story about my first
yes.
triathlon, though? I I started my sprint too fast at the end with the running. I usually start at like 200 meters. This time I started the sprint maybe like 3 or 400, and I wasn't running out of gas like at the end, running gas obviously. I
Y
wasn't running out of energy, but my
we
body.
understand hyperbole and metaphor on the
Yeah.
podcast, by the way. It's okay.
Okay, good, yay. Okay, that was sweet clapping into the camera. My body was overworked, and I started to feel like I was gonna throw up.
Oh, yeah.
And I start coming around the corner, the finish line is right there. It's maybe, like, 50 meters away, something I don't know how many feet that is, I apologize. And my boyfriend at the time was standing at the finish line holding a bag of McDonald's for me. But I come around the corner, and I was so close to the finish line, and I just, like, vomited everywhere. And it was
Did you
just
finish, though?
I did finish, but I was so embarrassed because it's, like, the last thing you wanna do at a race, especially when you're that close to the finish line,
To have
is
everybody
have
watch
to,
you
like,
vomit, yeah.
wrench over and vomit and then keep running, and it was just like, oh, the timing was so I almost could have avoided that, but
I
I fin
mean,
I got a good time.
knowing anything about runners, competitive runners, like, the amount of, like, and that they do while maintaining their runs and stuff like that. Pardon the
I've
pun.
not that's never happened to me.
Like,
It's just been
yeah,
like stomach acid buildup from overworking my system.
when I was running a lot, maybe some would say overrunning in during the pandemic because
I
I brought my
remember
weight
that.
down really low. I had abs, that was cool. But I might have pushed myself a little too much and gotten a little too thin. I recognize that. But I would go running and it didn't matter what day and there were days that it was like 110, 111 degrees
Oh
and
my
I
god.
would go and run like a 10K.
No.
And so, which is not crazy. It's about a little over, it's like 6.5 miles, right? So
Yeah.
a 10K is about 6.5 miles. And I remember like almost blacking out as I got home. And
Oh,
then like sitting there and then just kind of like resting, and then just kind of like waking up and having like dried salt on me from
oh,
all the
from your
sweat.
sweat? Oh my gosh.
And it was so hot that it like basically like evaporated and I had like salt deposits on me and I was like red. I like that took me out for the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
I was
That's
like,
I mean, that's crazy. I have, like, a opposite situation where oh, by the way, speaking of running and vomiting, I ran
this
across
is exactly how I want to start a conversation. Let's go.
I ran cross country in high school and middle school. I actually think I was, like, better when I was, like, 14 and 15, and by
Oh,
the
when
time
you had boundless energy and the weight of the world wasn't on your
yeah.
shoulders, were you a little bit better? Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, the last, like, 2 or 3 years of high school wow, I made it sound like I was in high school forever. I was only in high school for 4 years, like everyone else. I would always throw up at the 2-mile mark during
Huh.
cross country. It was just the way the stomach acid built up in my body during races, and I would do everything I possibly could to keep my pace and do really well, and the worst thing was I was one of the worst runners on the team, but
I don't, is
I
cross
tried hard.
country really, is the competitiveness of cross country that big a deal though?
I
If you're
mean,
not trying to become like a runner,
college runner,
all
yeah.
you're doing is just being like, I just want to stay healthy. I want cardio.
Yeah,
Like,
but I have a competitive nature where it was like, I have to beat my last time, like, every race should be a PR, and all that stuff, but my friends were really good, and I always wanted to keep up with them, but hey, they're still my best friends in the world back home, so,
I
that's why I stayed in it.
I can't exercise with anything in my stomach other than water.
So that's the thing is like I can't either, but I have to because I will pass out from like low blood sugar. So of course, like maybe an half an hour before every meet, I would have to have like a granola bar or something in
Like
my
a
stomach.
banana or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though, I knew it was going to give me an upset stomach, it was better than fainting because my blood sugar got too low. So
Yeah.
but like
It's also like meets
to
were in the afternoon, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, in high school, I was 5'8", 107 pounds. Like, I was stick thin, and I must have been eating, like, 3,000 calories a day. Like, I was just an eating machine, and it still wasn't enough, but I was super active, and my metabolism was through the roof. Now I wonder what happened to that.
Boy, you know what happened. We just got older.
Yeah, we did. Oh
Fine.
my gosh, there's so many things I wanna say. Wait, one more thing. I have a story connected to your heat stroke, but opposite. When I was going through triathlon training, I was in college, I was at Cornell University, and one day we had a 13-mile run for our practice that day. It was about 16 degrees Fahrenheit outside,
Classic.
and yeah, and it was snowing, and, we warmed up inside the gym, but then all the runs were outside, and at the very end, the last mile was all uphill, and, oh my goodness, I was so proud of myself when I finished. Our coach he was running alongside me, he noticed how I was improving, and like I said, I was never a very good runner, and that's probably the farthest I've ever run, and I got home, and I was exhausted, I ate a bunch of food, took a hot shower, went to bed. When I woke up, I could not move. I had
Oh, you were just
like
taken out.
no, I had not stretched properly, I hadn't cooled down properly, my quads were
They locked up.
so I tried to get out of bed, and this was in a dorm where we have, like, my bed was raised with those little blocks so I could fit more
Oh, the
storage.
cinder blocks, the stolen cinder
Like,
block
the little
special, yeah.
plastic cones for literally for, like, dorm beds, and I remember I got out of bed and I, like, put my feet down, my legs just buckled under me, and I had to miss 2 days of class because I couldn't I couldn't walk. I felt so bad
Why did
because
you feel bad?
well, I because I missed class. Like, and this was back in 2000 and what, 6 or 7 when we had email, right? But, like, there was no Zoom, there was no recording lectures, and these were classes I really liked to go to, and I missed an insect behavior class, and I was really bummed about that because
You
I was
missed your
not very
insect behavior class.
I did, it was so sad.
Oh, RIP.
Alright, anyways, I just had to
No,
go tangent
no,
for
that's good.
I never pooped my pants running or doing anything else.
Is this a technicality because they were shorts?
No, no, no. I that does not happen because you're talking about of course, marathon runners do this, like, the really serious ones. The other marathon runners actually stop and use the porta potties, like, when they're running, so,
Classic.
yeah.
Classic. Yeah, I've had sort of like I've definitely had moments where like the adrenaline has made it so that I didn't notice the problem.
Oh, I see. Mhm.
And fighting is different, I think, in a very, very obvious way. But a lot of it is like when you're in a fight, you don't really feel the pain. You just feel like the kind of impact, and you're like, all right, well, what am I going to do? I have to deal with this, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. You
so
peed
then you're
yourself?
like going through it, and then afterwards, like when I fought in the Golden Gloves, I could notice that like I couldn't taste anything. And because I lost by getting basically my nose just opened up in the middle of the ring in front of like several thousand people, including my father.
Bloody? Was it, like, bloody?
It was broken. Oh,
Well,
no, it looked
yeah.
like a crime scene.
Ah!
Like, it was real bad.
Crime scenes, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
no. We
it
can talk
was
about
like
that too.
we're lucky we were the last fight. We were the heavyweights, so obviously we're the last fight, right? And so we were lucky in that regard because I can't imagine another fight happening on that mat.
But
It was so bad.
oh
And it
my
was all because I made a stupid mistake. And I was winning, which is even more frustrating because I lost the fight, but I was winning. I was winning
that
until,
point.
until I wasn't. But I remember like being in my dad's Ford Explorer eating McDonald's. I hadn't had McDonald's in forever, right? I'm talk about parody from what you were saying, right?
I know.
And not being able to taste it. That's so, like I really remember not being able to taste it and just being like, "What the?" Because I'd
Mhm.
never had that happen for obvious reasons. And then I woke up the next morning
And it
and
seared
it felt like somebody had been tap dancing on my face the whole time.
oh.
Like my septum is now in my left nostril. It's like a whole thing.
Oh, no, I understand,
Yeah.
actually. I broke my nose about a month after we filmed for or recorded for Sideshow.
Oh, really? How did that happen?
Oh, I think you know about this, but I'll explain. So I
Okay.
was surfing. I was on a date surfing at C Street in Ventura, for those of you that know that area. And I was catching a wave and sharing the wave with another human. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I just turned my face to look to the left, and there was a board going straight toward my face as someone else's surfboard, and I immediately covered my face with my hand. Their board hit my hand and my nose,
Thank
and
God. At least imagine if it didn't hit your
oh,
hand.
yeah, or hit my eye,
Yeah.
and
Then you'd need glasses.
oh, I already have glasses, but
Okay.
yeah, then I would need a glass eyes. Get it? Uh-huh. Uh,
Hey.
e bad joke. Anyways, you should see me when I teach. I come up with all these weird bad jokes, and then I can never, like, think that quick again.
You know
Uh,
what's real I have a thing about
yeah,
that, but
yeah.
continue
Oh,
your
go ahead.
story.
Oh,
No, no, no,
okay.
no, 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 I'll tell afterwards.
I see you're taking notes, so we don't forget anything.
I write
Um,
stuff down.
so I had felt like I got smacked in the face by a giant piece of fiberglass, which I did, or wood, or whatever surfboards are made out of. Actually, it's skis and
Depends
snowboards.
on whose board it was, right?
Yeah, not a soft top. And I remember my teeth hurt really bad. And I checked. I was like, okay, my teeth are there. the guy was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" And I was like, "Am I bleeding?" He was like, "No." I was like, "Are my teeth here?" And he's like, "Yeah." And no, this was not the guy I was on the date with. And he's like, "No." I was like, "Okay, I'm fine." So I paddled back out and I caught a couple more waves. And then and the guy I was with, who's now my ex, he was like, "I saw it. Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it's okay." So we surfed maybe another half an hour, and then I was just like, "Yeah, wow, my face really hurts." And
Because of
then
getting hit in the face with a surfboard.
yeah, and, well,
Understandable.
long story short, I later found out I had shattered my nose in several places, and it like, stretched the membrane in my nose just enough to not break it so it didn't bleed, like, to break the
Oh,
membrane.
it, like, kept it in. So that means that you're swallowing a lot of blood then?
Well, I had inflammate a ton of inside inflammation, so, there was just, like, blood filling the pockets inside my face. Obviously, things broke, bones broke, cartilage broke. I noticed when I got home later, I was like, "Oh my god, my nose is crooked." And being a model, I was like, or ooh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to curse.
You can say all you want.
Oh, okay. I was just like, "Oh, no." But you know what? The thing is you couldn't really notice straight on. It was only if you looked at my nose from underneath, my septum was, like, totally sideways. And, yeah, long story short, I didn't we didn't realize how bad of a fracture it was until I had surgery the following August. So, mind you, this happened January. I couldn't get surgery until August. The idea is if you have a broken nose and it's not causing any major problems right away, they want to wait at least 3 months for the swelling to go down. So then they can decide exactly how they need to go in
Oh, they
and
wanna fix it, yeah.
they couldn't fit the probe, put the
I was
probe.
gonna say, were you hoping they would just put the metal rod up your nose and smack it with a hammer?
They couldn't do that because there were bones, like, blocking it that
Yeah.
weren't supposed to be, um, broken in that area, basically well, no one can see, but things
Yeah.
were
Oh,
shattered and poking in places they shouldn't, and I couldn't take a proper COVID test because of this either when COVID started, but the day after the accident, it was so painful, like you said, like someone was tap dancing on your face, and I just felt the congestion in my throat was swollen, and I sounded like I had a bad cold for about, like, at least a whole month.
yeah.
Um, but because of COVID, you couldn't have non-essential surgeries scheduled for a while. So I had to wait 8 months, to get my nose fixed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can breathe better. I can," it was a 3-hour freaking surgery because they did everything through my right nostril. And I mean, that surgeon, she was amazing. She did a great job. So,
I've been
yeah.
waiting 24 years for that surgery.
Ah,
I was
man.
supposed to get that surgery in 2010, and the doctor instead just went on vacation.
What?
He just
No,
went on a cruise. He canceled my surgery and went on a cruise.
stop.
And I was like, "Hey, thanks for scheduling this, bro." And now I don't have the insurance to get it fixed. So I
Ugh.
just have my septum right over there. So,
Oh, man. Well, I don't have a septum at all. They removed it because it broke in a million places,
I
and
mean,
the
they had what did
doctor
they do then?
so it's
You have, like,
just
cocaine
membrane.
nostrils then?
It's just like a membrane. It's just so I can't use, like, Flonase or any of those, like, nasal sprays with steroids because 'cause it'll
Wow.
thin the skin. So, like, inside my nose, there's no cartilage where the septum is. It's literally just skin going up my nose. You would never
Damn.
know.
So you can't use a Navage,
What's that?
one of those, like it's one of those nostril cleaners that you stick in where it's like one is a suction and one is a push, and you, like, put the 2 things in your nostrils, and it, like, shoots a cleansing solution
Oh, no,
in
a
one
neti pot.
nostril, and it sucks it all out the other.
Oh, no, I use those.
Oh, you
A
do
neti
use
pot.
that. Not like
Yeah.
a it's sort of a Navage is like a neti pot that's, like, got a little force behind it.
Oh, I see.
So, like,
Okay.
if I try to use a neti pot, it just clogs up and it comes right back out because it's so clogged. So it
Oh,
doesn't
okay. I
actually
wish people could see our video. We're, like, putting fingers up our
Yeah,
nose.
we're definitely basically, like, mock picking our noses on the show. So here's an interesting thing, and I don't know if you know this, but I actually have producers on the show. And if
Oh,
they head over to patreon.com/Jeff May and they sign up for any of the producer tiers, I will say their name or something about them that they want me to say for a very affordable price because I have no integrity. So I'm going to give a big shout out to some people and we can talk. Some of the stuff inspires conversation. For example, a big shout out to Burrito. You a burrito fan?
me?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, minus the fact that I can't eat beef right now due to a tick bite meat allergy that I have.
Jesus Christ. What do you have, like Lyme disease or something?
No, but I test false positive for it.
Oh, good times. My
Yeah.
brother had Lyme disease, and that's okay. He sucks. Shout out to Mr. Billy Beck. Wait, what kind of burritos do you get then? Chicken?
Chicken,
Okay.
yeah. I can eat birds.
I like a shrimp burrito.
Oh my god, shrimp tacos and shrimp quesadillas, the best.
That's the good stuff right there. A big shout out to Mr. Billy Beck. The Tubi Terror Bunny thinks you should watch the Puss in Boots sequel. It's surprisingly good. Okay. How about a big shout out to Lemming Malloy? A big shout out to David Knife Boot Hinson. A shout out to the Enchanted Wandering unpierced left nipple that only goes up to 11 cider served at room temperature with just a pinch of cinnamon.
I'm trying hard not to laugh.
You're allowed to laugh. Somebody pays me money to say that sentence on here, and it's a delight.
How many listeners do you get?
How many
Just
how
curious.
many producers do I have on this show? It's a little less than 20.
Okay.
So it used to be a lot more, and then I realized that I had undervalued it, and I was eating up 20% of my entire podcast by reading off names. And a big shout out to Funky J Mostly comes out at night. Mostly.
Mostly.
Mostly. You an Aliens fan? You like that movie?
Oh gosh, I don't think I've seen the whole film. Are we not friends anymore? I've
That's not
seen
how friendship works. What my like the reality would be me being like, we gotta watch Alien. Like that,
Well,
like
I love Gremlins. I know you love Gremlins. I'm thinking back. I don't know why I'm thinking of Gremlins and Aliens, very, very different films. I was
yeah,
just
but I mean they're like monsters that kill, so it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy.
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I get it. You ever see RoboCop?
Oh my goodness. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Been a while. Stained. That's Stained, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I always forget. Is that Disturbed? Is it Stained? Stained, right?
Taind. No
Yeah,
E.
they were out of Springfield, Massachusetts. So
No way.
we got their worthless bull music. Although to be fair, their breakout hit was Mud Shovel, and I still think that's a great song. So
I had my high school crush. I asked him to burn me that CD. It was the first CD that was ever burned for me. And I paid him $12 for it.
seems like you could have just went out and bought the CD.
I know, but like
$12. That CD's
finding
worth
good
13, and you could have gotten liner notes. Also, he charged you?
Well, I was like, "Hey, can you?" Because this was when burning CDs was like, oh my gosh, a cool thing, like 2001, right? And I was like,
Yeah,
"Do
that's what I was thinking about in 2001 was burning
you know
CDs.
how to burn
Not the
CDs?"
burning rubble of the Twin Towers. Real nice, Susan. Real nice.
No, this was literally like 2 weeks before 9/11
Oh,
happened. It
so
was
you caused it.
But he sat behind me in English class, and I remember being in that class when they announced what happened. And this was in middle of nowhere, Podunk, Illinois, by the way. I know you were a lot closer to New York City. And
I
then
was in Maine. So like
oh, I thought you were in
closer, but also it might as well be a million miles away.
he was the only person in the class that actually knew people that lived in New York City, and he said he had relatives that worked there. So, but everyone was okay in World Trade Center. Anyways, wow,
Not
what a
everyone was okay in the world. Everyone he was
going
related to.
from, I know. Yeah, very, very tragic. Anyways, yeah, how Stained goes from this to like, oh, my middle school and like freshman year high school crush burned me my first CD, and it was Stained. But the first actual CD I got as a gift was Chumbawamba.
That's the first CD you ever had. An
Yeah, the first
anarchists, a punk anarchy band that got a pop hit. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I look back at them and they were just like, you should probably just steal our CD. We don't give a shit. I loved that. They were like straight up anarchists. My first CD, I think the first CD I ever got was a Ren and Stimpy Christmas CD because I got a CD player. Like my dad got me like a CD, a Discman,
Uh-huh,
skipped
uh-huh.
all the time.
Not like a boombox CD player?
No,
Did you
like
have
a
a boombox
Discman.
just a di okay.
But the first one I think that I ever bought was the Alapalooza, like a Weird Al,
Oh,
the
yeah, I
Weird
remember.
Al CD. It
Do you
was the one with
remember
Jurassic.
your
It was the Jurassic Park one,
oh,
Alapalooza.
quick what was your first cassette tape? Do you remember?
I don't know, like, because here's the thing: is like there's firsts, and then there's firsts that are yours. Because like obviously, you get like the tapes your parents have, and you listen to them and
Right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think the first one that I got that was mine was probably later in my life, like 9. I think it was like the Ninja Turtles soundtrack.
Okay.
That might have been it because everything else was like shared with my brother. And it
Mhm.
was like we weren't really big music kids at the time. So, yeah.
Mine was No Doubt, and I bought it at a neighbor's garage sale for like 75 cents.
Oh, Tragic Kingdom. That's a good album. Tragic
Yeah,
Kingdom, right?
yeah, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
It took me a very long time to realize that it's called Tragic Kingdom because they're from Anaheim.
Oh, I never
An Orange County reference. Magic.
made that
That's why she's holding a rotting orange in her hand.
wait, there's a Magic Kingdom at the Disney here? I thought it was only the one in Orlando. I haven't
Disneyland is considered, they're both, all Disneys are considered the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
So I
Well,
guess it took you
hey,
longer
you're
than it took me
gold.
now that I'm realizing it.
Yeah, but yeah, I was
Don't
gonna
you
say
live in Orange County?
I did. I lived
You did
well,
live in Orange County, yeah.
half Orange County, half, like, Central America, so
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. But that's why she's holding a rotting orange in her hand on the cover.
Oh, no effing
Because they
okay.
were they were they were punks in the Orange County scene, which is obviously Orange County is it might as well be Texas. So yeah, they hated it. Yeah, so now you know. That's why it's called Tragic Kingdom.
You just ruined my first cassette tape experience. No, I'm just kidding.
Ruined. It's so much better knowing that it's cool.
It is, and that makes sense. I have a friend that in grad school, I was at UC Irvine, and he was just like, "Oh, I know Gwen Stefani's brother," and like, I like how I use that tone of voice, but yeah, I guess they're from the area. That makes sense. All
Yeah,
right.
no, I mean I know like I knew one of the guys from the like Worcester, it was the Dropkick Murphys. Everybody
Yeah.
had a connection
Mhm.
to the Dropkick Murphys. A big shout out to I'm going to start calling Yoda Old Grogu just to see what happens. A big shout out to Sweet Keel. Thank you very much to that scene in Lost City where Brad Pitt dies. A big shout out to Aldo Vargas is adding Jeff Has Cool Friends producer to his resume. Do it. Do it. A big shout out to Porcelain Jesus. I always wonder if Porcelain Jesus is a reference to vomiting because when you're
Talk
praying, when you're
about
vomiting into a
Bob.
toilet, they say you're praying to the porcelain gods.
Oh,
I always
interesting.
wonder about that. Or if it's just like, here's a porcelain Jesus that I have in my yard or something else that I might not know. A big shout out to Bobby Opulent, Norm from Cheers, Dan Hackroyd. A big shout out to blacktulipmassage.com. That's not porn. That's my friend Julie, and she's amazing. And if you're ever in Central Massachusetts, get a damn massage from her because it's great. Bouch. And not just because she paid me money to say it. I do. She's like, whenever I go home, she's one of the few people that I'm like, can we set a thing up? It's great. A huge shout out to check out this month's Nerd with Dre and Jeff, where we're going to be starting an interesting season by doing the Impulse comics. It's going to be very excited. A big shout out to the Oatmeal Savage. You an oatmeal fan?
Me, I go through phases.
Huh?
I go
Are
through
you
phases.
currently in a phase? What would you put in oatmeal? Like the packets are like oatmeal, like you make.
No, oatmeal. I use the quick cook ones, the quick cook oatmeal flakes,
Okay.
and so these like soak them overnight in almond milk, add some cinnamon, maybe some
Okay.
walnuts.
Overnight oats then.
Yeah, mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Do you do like the berries and the yogurt and the honey and all that peanut butter?
Now, if I'm gonna do berries and yogurt, I do berries and yogurt,
Uh,
but, like, if I'm just for the oatmeal, it's just oatmeal, almond milk, cinnamon, and walnuts. Sometimes I make it warm too.
Okay, okay, so yeah, you those are the ingredients of a warm oatmeal that you're
Yeah.
having cold. You're a psychopath, and I love it.
No, it's just I'm too lazy. That would be like my quick grab it in the morning and go,
Yeah.
oatmeal's the same, cold or warm for me.
I had it oh, that's weird. I had an ex that she made these really good, like, overnight oat parfaits, where she'd do, like, the overnight oats and then do, like, a thing of Greek yogurt, the berries, a little peanut butter drizzle, and then you'd put honey on it, and you'd mix it all together, and not gonna lie, it was pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds really
Yeah.
good.
Not the worst part of the relationship, if we're being honest here. I like oatmeal. I like raisins. I like brown sugar. You know, I like a classic hot, steamy oatmeal. And of course, finally, a shout out to Call Me Sean or whatever. And if you want to do that, head over to patreon.com/Jeff May, sign up for any of the Cool Friends producer tiers, and you can do that. Anyway, back to you, Susan.
Well, I feel a lot of pressure knowing that there are so many people that, are sponsoring you. I'm like, "Oh gosh, I gotta amp up my conversations."
What do you mean amp up your it's my job to amp up the conversation, not your job. It's your job to be you.
That's true. Well, we're talking about food and blood and vomiting and
These are like my 3 favorite subjects.
I sliced open my hand on accident. I almost lost a finger in August trying to get the seed
Yeah.
out of avocado. And, I had a knife go totally through my hand in one side and out the other near my finger.
I don't understand how you did that slicing an avocado.
So I didn't grow up eating avocados. This is super embarrassing. I didn't have my first like straight up avocado until I studied abroad in Costa Rica in 2008,
Okay.
which is like super
That's fair.
embarrassing.
Yeah, we didn't have it in, like, Massachusetts either.
But I was, like, 20 years old, and I was like,
Roughly the
"Oh,
same.
an avocado." Like, I'd had guacamole before, but that was it. I was like, "Avocado, okay." And so I thought I knew you're supposed to, like, cut it open from the side, but then I would put the sharp end of the knife into the seed and, like, kinda twist it out that way, but I'd have to get the knife, like, through into the seed enough to twist it, not put the long part of the knife over it, like, the
Yeah, you,
sharp.
like, chop down onto the seed and then you kinda, like,
No.
unscrew it.
Yeah, no, that's not what I would do, and I don't know why I never figured out the right way to do it, but
Well, you
I
did
would
now.
put the sharp part in. Yeah, and I had a brand new paring knife, like, in a really fancy one, so they're heavier, and I was trying to stick the knife in through the seed, and the knife
You were
it
holding it?
yeah, with my left hand and knife in the right
I
hand.
feel like and this is gonna sound cruel, you kinda earned that injury.
But you know what? I've been taking seeds out of I cannot talk today, out of avocados like that for a decade, no problems. But you're right. I had it coming, right? And this is what I get for growing up in middle of nowhere Midwest where we have avocados, just nobody buys
Yeah,
them.
we didn't eat them either.
Yeah.
The way I learned it was because I'm accident prone, that I would actually take, like, a big butcher knife, like a big butcher knife, right? And then I would just cut into it with the longs, and then I would literally rotate the avocado around the blade.
See?
So I'd be literally, like, turning it to cut it all the way, and then when you twist the blade, it would, like, pop it in half.
See? Like
And then I
everyone
would, like, chop down on it and twist out because I was like, I knew my instinct would be to stab it as well.
yeah, because that's more fun. Like that's the more fun way to do it. And then I'd have
Most of the time.
the seed at the very end of the knife, and then you smack it over the edge of the trash bin, and it would fall
Yeah.
off. It'd be great. But yeah, so basically, you could see where this is going. The knife slipped and then went through the avocado through my hand. Blood squirted everywhere. This was, mind you, 3 o'clock in the morning. Do not ask why I wanted avocado toast at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it is what it is. And I live alone with minus two cats. And I was like, well, okay, first, it's like hot blood squirting all over my kitchen and the smell of the iron really got to me, like, there's
Oh, interesting.
nothing yeah, the smell of my own, like, warm blood. I immediately grabbed, a towel to put over my hand, and I was like, "Do I call an Uber to go to the hospital? Like, what do I do?"
Don't do
This is
that.
so bad,
Don't
and
call an Uber to go to the
yeah.
hospital.
So I got the bleeding to stop enough. I was like, "Okay, I can drive one-handed." I don't have I have an automatic, not a manual transmission, so I don't need both hands when I drive. And so I start going and then I just started going to the nearest hospital. But I was like, crap, I need to get gas. My gas light was on. So
Jesus Christ.
yeah, I know. My goal was it's like, okay, I'll get gas tomorrow. And of course, tomorrow ended up being 3 a.m. going to the ER with this my blood dripping from my wound. I put gas in my car at the gas station. No, there was one other person there getting gas. No one, said anything. Like it looked like I had committed a crime
Yeah.
because I had blood everywhere. And then I
Luckily, it's not a place where you bleed out. Like your hand, the blood
like
vessels
with
are
the wrist,
pretty
yeah.
well spread,
No, I would have called 911 if it was like my wrist or something that
like
was
something
wounded.
brachial or something
And
like that. Yeah.
yeah, but the fact that I got it to stop bleeding was good news.
Yes.
I started driving actually to the wrong hospital. By wrong hospital, it would have been perfectly fine, but in my brain, I was like, "Oh, that's in a sketchy part of Long Beach. I'm gonna go somewhere else." And I turn around, eventually get to the ER. I didn't get seen or stitches or whatever until like 6 a.m., which was like hours later. But I ended up severing a nerve. I had to get hand surgery. I got a nerve graft where they placed a cadaver's nerve in my
Well,
hand.
how's that feel now? Is that like, do you have like a haunted hand?
I do, and the weirdest thing is yes, it's my ring finger actually, which is why I'm cursed. I'm like, "I'm never gonna get married. I've broken this finger, I've smashed this finger, I've almost cut off this
You just
finger."
need like a hero, right? You need
I know.
like a literal knight in shining armor.
Oh, man, now I'm thinking of Nickelback's Hero song. Oh, yeah, The
Oh,
Stain.
you mean Josie, what's his name? And the guy from the one from Spider.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That wasn't Nickelback though. Wasn't that the other band and Chad Kroger joined?
Oh, shoot, I don't even know.
Not
I
that it
don't
matters. I'm just being a pedant at that point in time. Pedant or pedant?
pedant?
Pedant? Pedant.
Who knows? Anyways, this surgery happened the first week of September, and I have really cool scars on my hand, but I've been getting sensation back. So I'll touch like the lower right side of my finger, and then I feel like a weird pain sensation in the upper left side. There's weird stuff going on with the nerves, and it drives me nuts almost every day because it feels like the finger fell asleep. It comes and goes.
Oh yeah, that must be obnoxious, huh?
Yeah, but, eventually, after, like, a whole year, I think it'll be as good as it's gonna get with sensation back.
Well, we learn, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is funny. Like as we get older, I think the more active we are. I was actually having this conversation with my roommate. We're talking about. I was talking about like my leg, like my left leg. It's just bad. It's
I
just
know
like
you got an injury recently.
yeah, I've pulled. It's been a whole thing, right? Where like it's just my left leg is, especially my knee, is just not great. And I looked at her and I was like, well, I was an athlete and I was competing at a very high level and pushing myself to a very high level. And I think this is just like the price you pay, right? Like, yeah, I did something cool in my, 20s for the most part, and now I'm missing two teeth. Like,
Wait, where? Oh, what? How did I didn't know that about you. I never noticed.
they're not church teeth. So like when I smile, because when I have a weird smile, like I don't show my bottom teeth when I smile at all, right? And so on the top of that too, they're just far back enough that even if I did like a, so I call them, yeah, I didn't lose any church teeth. It's like a movie, like I literally had back teeth plucked out, and like I got a bad
Find
back, and
out?
like it's weird. They actually it happened not necessarily like they didn't get knocked out. They got attacked from below because of all the damage my whole body was taking. It was like vibrating every part of me. And so stuff was getting under my gum line.
I see.
And I wasn't getting like deep cleanings, the ones that hurt real bad where they go
Yeah.
under your gums. I
Ugh,
just didn't get one in time. And so the plaque got so underneath that it started to like basically attack two teeth.
yeah.
So I've had the cleaning since, and they were like, yeah, we're not, you can't really save this tooth. Like it's got to go. So yeah,
Wow.
it's like a long term, it's like it took a while. It was like a secret injury. But what I was getting at is I think both based on activity and then all it's like, yeah, like I've worn out my body. And then on top of that, just sometimes I'm just a idiot. And I give myself an injury like based on some random that I had no idea with. And it's like, yeah, we're paying the bills here. Hey, speaking of paying the bills, how much did it cost to summit Everest? That
Well,
was the question I wanted to ask like 20 minutes ago when you said you did the not summit, but the
base
base
camp.
camp and
Yeah.
then the summit.
So base camp is pretty reasonable. It was like 1,400 with a guide, and then you pay an extra like 300 for a personal porter. So somebody else carries all your like stuff, and all you need is your day pack with like water and snacks and layers. So that's
That's
pretty
like unfortunately affordable.
it is. It's amazing. It's like half the price of the flight out there, right? And then so that's not bad, right? And then I left I give a pretty generous tip to my guide and porter too. So you have to I wouldn't say plan for that, but just know that they if it weren't for either of them, I wouldn't have, gotten all the way to base camp. It's tough, right? You get there. The hardest day we got up to 18,000 feet. And so I do really well with altitude. I know not everyone can, so I'm a little bit gifted in that sense. I'd like to think you got to take your time to acclimate and not push yourself. Now, if you want to summit, if you want to take one step past base camp to start to go up the mountain, already the permit is well over $10,000
Yeah.
just to be in that like on the mountain in that respect.
I've heard, and like I've obviously seen the photos, but like the lines of people waiting for their
Mhm.
photo at the summit, where the summiting Everest is at this point in time mostly a photo op as opposed to like the ultimate challenge that it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, they say now anyone who if you have money, they'll get you to the top type thing. I was just so impressed at how bougie, excuse me, I couldn't say that right. Bougie everything at base camp is. So by the time I got to base camp, it was empty because the climbing season ends and then they break down base camp and everything comes back down. So but while we're making our way towards base camp, which as I mentioned takes over a week of trekking, you see the Sherpas coming back down carrying a lot of material, and then there's some carrying down solar panels, mattresses, and I was like, what, you get a mattress? And my guide said, yeah, and they have some of them have heated mattresses. I was like, what the I was like, I have camped in like 5 degrees Fahrenheit before, and I didn't get a dang heated mattress. Had the ground under me,
Yeah.
and so
I remember that there was a back when I used to be a teacher and I taught a lot about Islam. I mean, they had a video about the Hajj and it was different people traveling to Mecca and everything
Mhm.
like that. And there was like this whole thing about how like the Americans would stay in these like lush 4-star, 5-star hotels, whereas like people coming in from Iraq, they would just be like, "Yeah, we got an eighth of a tent that we're sleeping
Mhm.
on while we're doing this." And it's just like, yeah, like luxury is wherever people are willing to pay for it. You know,
Yeah,
like
that's insane, and so that's why the price of, like, summiting Everest depends on the services, and I'm not talking about essentials like having oxygen and food. This is, like, the fancy services. Do you want to be able to shower every day with warm water? Like, those luxuries, and so it can cost anywhere from, like, around, like, $35,000 to, like, $90,000. Uh,
Jesus.
yeah, that's why I think I could do it if I trained. I have
Oh, I don't
naturally
doubt you could do it.
long legs, and I adjust well to high altitude for exercise, and, like, I think I could do it, but I cannot afford it at this point in time in my life, but maybe I could try to raise money to
It's
go.
that's so interesting to me too because don't take this the wrong way, but is summiting Everest really just a vanity thing at this point?
It's not a vanity thing, I'm obsessed with doing crazy things, and I want to push myself. Like, if for me to do it, it would be, what is one of the most difficult things I could accomplish
Okay.
aside from getting a PhD, right? That's the accomplishment I'm most proud of and will always be the most proud of. But it's more of like, now that I've seen the mountain, I've seen the top and I've been there, and now I think about it all the time. It's like, I really just want to know
Oh,
what
so
it
now you've become obsessed with it.
No, not obsessed. I don't think about it every day, but occasionally, like if I open up my Instagram feed, I still see I posted right before New Year, the sun rising just behind Everest when I'd summited a nearby mountain, Kalapathar, that's kind of like across from it, and I was just like, "Oh, that's amazing." And if I had been there a week prior, you could see the climbers with their lights because you start your hike up Kalapathar before sunrise. And so I'm like, wow, I would have been able to see the people like on the mountain. And you're so close. It's right there. Obviously, if I did that, it would be the most difficult thing. It would probably be physically the most difficult thing that I ever do.
Yeah.
But to me, it's more like a, wow, that sounds crazy cool. I want to do something nuts. I want to do that.
I mean, that is nuts. That is really
It's
cool.
nuts.
And
It is
and
nuts. Yeah.
It's funny too because we've taken some interesting tangents. I know. I mean, we actually have to finish the show soon, which is
I've
weird.
got 20 minutes
You
before I've
do,
gotta
but
go to
well,
campus
the
and
good news is
class.
for patrons, we have exclusive content coming your way after Susan and I finish up this episode. So if you want to hear that and you are listening on the free feed, thank you so much. If you want to head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May, you can hear a little bit of extra. And you can hear that the time that Susan said,
No, why?
why, you're
Oh.
afraid to? Yeah. Say it again.
I needed context, like,
That was perfect context.
I was like, and when blood was squirting everywhere. I came back home, by the way, to this, crime scene in my kitchen, knife still through the avocado with a blood smear on it, and you could see the knife went, like, 3 inches through the back of my
Did you
hand.
take a photo of that?
Of course, I'll send it to you. I
Oh
even
yeah.
yeah, and
I'll
then
put that as your photo for the episode.
there had been blood on on the floor, and my cats licked it up.
They'll
So,
eat you if you die.
they will. Yep. For
Um,
another day, I'll tell you a story about how they ate a piece of my old flesh from a snowboarding injury where I got impaled by a part of a rail. Anyways, that's for another day.
Susan, I think the general consensus is I could do a 3-hour episode with you, and I sure would like to. But you have to work. You have teaching to do,
Yeah,
like a
university,
sucker. Because
at
you're a teacher at University of
Cal
UCal,
State University.
Cal
Yeah.
State, CSLB.
Uh, yeah, Cal State Long Beach, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And you teach what's the class?
The one I'm teaching today is ecology. I also teach entomology, not doing it this semester though, because instead I'm teaching tropical biology and taking a group of students down to Costa Rica for spring break to work on some research projects down there. So that's a fun one. And I teach conservation bio and visual ecology, which is about sensory ecology quite a bit too. So a lot of fun stuff.
Do you know that I was a bio minor?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was an undeclared minor too. I didn't know I was getting it until I was graduating, and my advisor was like, you have a bio minor?
Hey,
And
it's
I
like
was like, no. He's like, did you mean to? And I was like, no. He's like, you took a lot of these classes. I was like, yeah, I like the guy, and the classes were neat, and I was interested in it. And he's like, you wasted money. I'm like, I was interested and learned. Kind of
that's
feels like I didn't waste. He's like, do you want to work in biology? I'm like, no, I want to be a history teacher, but this is fun. It's
Yeah.
fun, right? Isn't that part of it? Like I got my credits.
Yes,
He was
I
like
did.
almost like annoyed that I got that.
Well, I'm an advisor now too, and I guess if students take classes they don't need for their degree, we're like, "Hey, we gotta get you out the door. What are you doing all this extra stuff for if you don't need it?" But
Yeah, that's fair. And I get it because I was at like Worcester State in Massachusetts, which that's not exactly a school where people are like taking vanity classes.
yeah,
That's like a get the out of here and get to work kind of college.
at the same time, college is meant for you to explore what you may or may not have a lot of interest in. People go in thinking they know what they wanna do, and then they change their mind. So it's important to
My secret was CLEP exams.
CLEP exams.
CLEP, the College Learning Experience Program. You know what
Oh,
those are?
kind of.
So basically, you take a standardized test in a field, and as long as that field is not your major, if you get a score, that means you would have gotten like a C or better in the class. They just give you the credits.
Oh,
So
okay.
I took like I think I took a test for analyzing and interpreting literature, and at the time it was like $130. I got 6 credits for it,
Wow,
and I
okay. So
aced that.
so it's like AP tests, basically.
In a way, yeah, it was just like an AP test, yeah. But you didn't even have to take a class. You just show the up, and if you're not a moron, you can pretty much get the credit for one test, the cost of one test, and
That's
like a
awesome.
Saturday afternoon. It was awesome.
That's
It was
awesome.
great. Susan, on Instagram, we can find you at Scientific Model, which is a wonderful name for it's a very clever play on words.
Yeah.
Where else can we find you?
I am on Twitter X.
Yeah, for
I'm
now, right?
I'm not as active on it as I used to be for good reason.
Same.
Um, but my handle is this is a fun one, at Think About It.
Mhm.
So underscores between the think and the about and the it, I think. Or maybe you'll add
Think
that.
underscore about underscore it.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
think about it, but think about it. Make fun of my last name. That's pretty much it. I don't do the TikTok. I don't do wow, I sound very old by saying the TikTok.
Or the
I
blue skies.
not yet, no blue sky yet. So as far as science goes, it's mostly Twitter news, and honestly, Instagram is just a whole slew of fun hobbies, plus modeling, plus science, and being, an instructor, professor at a university. So,
Well, everybody, I urge you to follow Susan at think_about_it or scientific model on Instagram. You are one of my favorite people, so thank you. Stick around. We're going to do a little bit of bonus content. If you are listening for free, I appreciate it. Head on over to patreon.com/JeffMay for early access to uncensored episodes with bonus content, including the stuff that Susan and I are going to talk about. We're going to play some games. I'm going to play about 10 minutes worth of games with Susan.
yay.
Questions more than anything else. And on top of that, too, so you can hear shows like Nerd with Dre Alvarez. You can get Fine with Kim Crawl. You can also hear me on Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network and all the stuff I do with You Don't Even Like This Network. On top of that, too, follow me on Instagram at Hey There Jeffro and then the number 2 because my account got nuked. Then I have to start over again with this bullshit. Also, at Jeff Has Cool Cards is my YouTube page that we're doing all the cool stuff on. Susan, say goodbye to all the freeloaders.
Bye, freeloaders.
Bye, freeloaders. Patrons, stick around. We'll see you real soon.
Hey everyone, our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababon.